Hello, everybody. I'm about to go live with Anton W. Blake. I'm going to go right ahead and invite him before I say anything else. Kind of hard to type and text at the same time. Hey,
How's it
how's your connection? Can you hear
going?
me all right?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Cool, man. I'm going to throw my headphones on.
Just did the same.
So, I appreciate you coming on and doing this with me today. I see you got your portfolio laid out.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, man. So, before we get any further, I'm new to doing lives. Just go ahead and introduce yourself because everyone joining is probably my friends or followers. So tell everybody who
Mhm.
you are and what you're doing.
Uh, my name's Anton W. Blake. I'm a cartoonist based in Austin, Texas. I Ian and I met each other up at IC3 this year in the Comics Creator Con. I have the book that Ian has on his camera, and what these original pages I have up here. The Zethia Space Witch, a science fantasy, kind of whimsical, wacky book printed by Cosmic Lion Productions, our good pal Eli.
Yeah, yeah, it's so awesome that uh, Eli's Eli's officially one of my favorite people on earth. I'm sure you can second that. I think a lot of people feel that right now. And
Absolutely, yeah. He's so damn good, so damn cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm sure we'll end up talking about it more as we do this. But I'm just gonna
Certainly.
say that this is what you shared with me in the mail. Thank you. Zethia Space Witch, number one.
Only
And then this
since
awesome
you
sketchbook.
gave me a copy of Neon.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is like a comic. It's 4 years or so of like some of my favorite things from various sketchbooks. And
2018 to
as
2022.
yeah, and as you and I kind of talked about a little bit before all this, a lot of the things that are in that sketchbook zine are like my experimentations with various mediums to eventually do Zethia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go through this all slowly, but I'll just flip through real quick.
Mhm.
Just out of curiosity, how's as you're looking at, I don't know how you're set up. Can you see what I'm like if I'm going through the book right now? Can you see which page I'm on?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I know there's a lag if you're looking at it live. Um,
Mhm.
but I wonder if there's a lag on your screen as well. So yeah, I'm gonna flip through and talk and ask you questions, and anything you want to say, just interrupt. If there's a page and there's something you want to say about it, please do. And maybe we could even go page by page with your sketches or your not sketches, your final art. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, perfectly happy to do that.
Let's see how
Yeah,
that goes. I've
all
never
right.
tried it
So
before. Let's give it a
I
try.
have front cover, a couple of these pieces, particularly the front cover, back cover, and inside covers. I did on thicker um, art boards that just make it very impossible to like close and open this portfolio properly. So I have them
Okay.
outside of that. Um, but yeah, this was the first thing I did on the book. Well, first drawing, painting I did at least for the for this issue, and it was kind of I guess, proof of concept. Was like see how fast I could do this, how um, well I could integrate some of these elements I wanted to try out, and it ended up going really well.
What
I think I did this on like
so you're
Friday.
talking specifically about the cover? Not, you're not
Yeah.
talking about right? So how long did it take you? And what are the elements that you're referring to?
It was this was probably only a day of work, and it's a few different things. So the strip with the character Zethia and this little kind of sunny background thing are a separate piece of paper that's taped on. As we'll see, I use a lot of white tape throughout the pages, especially to get the like clean panel borders. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of watercolor and gouache, colored pencil. Uh, Throughout the book, her cloak is this specific textile pattern from a designer named Christopher Dresser, who's a like textile creator in the 1800s. So I had this book of a bunch of his textiles for doing like collage sort of stuff, and just decided like that would be a really fun way to have like a nice pattern on her cloak, and especially because it would change each time that like every single panel, basically, and kind of reminiscent of some cartoons, how like if someone's wearing a plaid shirt or whatever, they'll just have a static like plaid pattern, and when the character moves, the pattern does not, so it creates like a weird motion effect.
I really like that effect.
I
I like that look, and I like the graphic overall. I like how you're doing it. So you're cutting out the shape for every time,
yeah, yeah,
every page. Nice.
yeah, every time. So, and for this issue, I was using like the pages from that book of Christopher Dresser's textiles that I had, but prior to doing so, I scanned both of them in so that I would have plenty to be able to like print off later for future issues, all that kind of stuff. So I'd never run out truly. Uh,
Yeah, that's something you gotta think forward on, right? You gotta
mhm.
make sure that if you've committed to it, especially if you
Yeah.
go through a wardrobe change.
Yeah, I do have other textile patterns and things that, and I'll point it out whenever we get to that page, but um,
I love
there's
I
other things that I can switch to in other future issues if I want.
really love I imagine that this like I don't know if it's the stars and the cosmic diagrams in the background.
Mhm.
Is that like a white pencil or chalk on a black paint or something?
It's a couple of things. It's white chalk pencil, then a little bit of white ink on top of that. A lot of variations in it.
Hmm.
So it pulls up, but patchy and messy looking. So it has a
Could
few
you
different
could you
things, and then obviously there's a bit of a glow.
ask if you could hold it up like that? Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, it does. It has a glow. So yeah, the name of the game for you is there's a lot of mixed media on your comic, which is
So much so, yeah.
super. I don't want to say non-traditional, but it's just not as common. It's not super common. People tend to stick to a lot of people are digital, obviously. I
Mhm.
can't think of a ton of artists who are doing a lot of really mixed media. Um, what is it, Dave McKean? He's like the artist who was big on Vertigo in the '90s, and I'm not really sure if he's up to it anymore. But he
Mhm.
used to do a
Yeah,
lot of mixed media.
Right. Bill Sienkiewicz is my favorite artist. Full
Bill
stop.
Sienkiewicz, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and massive influence in like me getting to this kind of mixed media style. I mean, I reread
yeah,
Straight Toasters and Electro Assassin multiple times a year.
yeah.
It's kind of an obsession at this point. But yeah, there's only like so many artists I feel like that do go all the way in mixed media. Like those two, there's to some degree, like Michel Fife does a little bit, like there's hints of
Yeah,
it in some of his stuff, and um, like John K. Snyder, who I just met at Heroes Con. He does quite a bit of mixed media as well. He and I got to chat a little bit on like those little techniques, which is pretty fun. Um, yeah, it was definitely more of a thing like late 80s to mid 90s, I would say, especially in like the Vertigo sphere.
yeah,
But especially these days, it's seems at least much less common.
definitely less common now. So yeah, I mean, I know before I even saw your comic, I just saw Eli talking. I heard a lot of people talking about it, and I was psyched to hear somebody was doing mixed media. So I just gotta, hats off to you for doing it. I hope you
Yeah,
keep going and push it as far as you can and as far as you want to, really. Um,
hmm
I feel like I'm
definitely
listening
that's the
to
plan.
a lot of podcasts about comics, and I think it was Ink Pulp, and I think they were talking to David Finch, and they were just having a conversation about how, especially when you're really established like they are, it's very hard to experiment and break out of what you do.
Hmm
Just not even from just the professional standpoint of you need money and you need to stay on course so that people keep paying you, but even just I think David was saying that he just can't. He has like just an incredibly hard time doing anything other than what he does every day, and I'm actually feeling that with my own art. I feel like I've been very experimental over the course of my career, but I'm kind of finding like a zone, and I'm not experimenting as much. So yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool to see what you're doing and how you're doing it, and
Well, thank you.
I'm psyched to see more pages as we go through this.
Yeah.
Like this, for example, I'm like I can tell you obviously done this online, put
hmm
the plate on top so it's nice and clean, but I imagine this is just like a paint, like a
Yeah.
painting.
Yeah. Let's see
Oh,
which
that's
way
awesome.
is it?
It's so cool to see this. Yeah.
Forget which side it is. But yeah, this is basically like in this format is both of the inside covers
That
perfectly split.
horizontal,
And
I think you had it, yeah, in the horizontal way. Yeah. So cool, man. Oh, I see what you're saying. So it's split between the inside, both inside covers. That's really
yeah,
cool. That's very
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
I think it's yeah.
This is great book design. I love
Thank you.
pages like that. When people make
Yeah,
it like that.
I I was definitely inspired by again like more kind of 1800s patterns. Like I forget what books it was, but there were a bunch of books from that time period that had kind of wild end papers like that.
Mm.
So I wanted to just like push it even weirder. So there like the very back kind of tone is a mix slash with, and then on top of that, all the other colors are acrylic inks that I just let drop. Like I have the little ones that you can have a full dropper. So I would just drop little bits of it and then let it uh, meld together. And then eventually some of them I kind of smeared a little bit here and there. And yeah, just
Very cool.
glue on all
Oh my God.
the things just to make it chaotic.
Don't spill it on the piece.
No, no. Uh, but yeah, so that was, and then by the end afterwards, I just added all these little white stars essentially to have it's almost a like Ditko kind of cosmic feel.
Um, and then let's go on to this on page one. Let's move on to page one.
Yeah,
This is
sounds good.
so I mean as we're going, I'm just gonna kind of say whatever pops into my mind. Like you've written this, obviously. It says written, drawn, and
Mhm.
narrated by you. So what was your
Yeah.
writing process like? And yeah, tell me about your writing process. Are you like writing a full script? Are you just leaving notes for yourself since you're the only one doing it?
It was a little all over the place, particularly for this issue. Like I used to write a lot of scripts back in the day. Like I went to film school. I worked in film for about eight
Oh,
years.
really?
So I
Me too.
have done plenty of, yeah, I think I remember seeing that. Funny enough, I was doing that in Brooklyn for a few years, way back
Really?
when. Uh,
When
but
were
yeah,
you in Brooklyn doing film? What year?
um, 2016 to end of 2018.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So so you kind of have like so you know how screenplays read then. You're into
Right.
that format.
Yeah, I know a lot of that, and I had even prior to that, like, I mean, comics were always like my first love, my number one thing that I had or wanted to do when I was a kid,
Yeah,
but
same
ended up
here.
talking myself out of it. But
Same here.
yeah,
Similar
but
story.
with that, like growing up, like reading Wizard issues where they would talk about like all the making of and how to script and things, I learned a lot of elements even prior to film school. But
Yeah.
back to that, um, I wrote tons of screenplays over the years, but then I left the industry when I left Brooklyn and hadn't really written very many scripts since.
Hmm.
Like I think I scripted my segment of image grain design, but that was very easy since we were going off of pre-existing
Right.
material.
Yeah.
So I was very rusty in actually writing like traditional script when it came time to make this. So it was very funny. Like I was after countless pages that I have written in the past, it was a slog just to get 2 pages written.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to flip flop back and forth between writing a little bit and then like thumbnailing. Um, and sometimes I would figure out what the page would be when I was thumbnailing, and then I would be able to go back and write the script. And sometimes same with, I would just be like already deep in some of the like these pages here, and then I would go back to writing some stuff so that it ended up becoming a very fluid process
Yeah.
throughout. And I think it ended up working out for the better because there were so many chances for me to make tweaks to things as I was progressing on the pages and like seeing how the flow was really coming together and all of that. So it worked out way better than it seemingly should have. But so it was all over the place essentially.
So I don't know if you're seeing what's on the screen right now, but I dropped down Little Bird, written by
Yeah.
Dulcie Von Pelgeist and drawn by Ian Bertram. And when I was writing the script for my comic, I was having a really hard time writing it because I had been like you, I had been writing screenplays for a long time, and I just like it wasn't natural for me to write a comic format. So I had actually written it like a screenplay, and then I saw this book, and Darcy actually wrote it very much like a screenplay. And it's
Hmm.
kind of like it's like a hybrid of screenplay and comic script, and that's how I've been writing ever since. Like I use Final Draft as if I'm writing a movie script,
Hmm.
but I'm writing in this format. And again, I don't know when it's just us working for ourselves, making our own comics, we can give ourselves a shorthand. We don't necessarily need a finished script. But I kind of just I don't know. I kind of like it. I like having a nice finished script personally.
Yeah, yeah, it is nice for sure to have that. I do have printed out script, and my script is definitely somewhere in between like screenplay style and comic
Yeah,
style. Like I'll have it broken down by comic page, but then I don't have panel breakdowns within it, and sometimes I'll be figuring out like some of the shapes and things, and like telling myself this is where this goes, etc. Like this is that one panel, two panel, etc. But
yeah,
when I'm actually in the middle of it, I'm not doing it in a traditional like panel by panel broken down script.
yeah. That's cool to see. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah,
So yes, so you do thumbnailing? Do you off of that
I
script
do.
you go and do thumbnails? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I do it on 8.5 by 11 as well. have 8 to a single sheet, so I can it. I found over the years that I like to kind of make my thumbnail process and my penciling process like kind of melded into one and the same. So I try to have as much of the like figure and composition and everything like really nailed down in thumbnails more so than like some folks who are drawing them like truly like thumbnail size normally would,
Yeah.
just so that I can these in and then a very light ink onto the final boards, just because I essentially without that sort of thing. So it's very necessary for me. But also I just want to speed through penciling because the thumbnailing and penciling part is probably my least favorite section of drawing. I want to get to inking and painting and whatever else is going on as fast as I can.
Yeah. It's kind of one of the hardest phases and one of the most important phases, depending on how you work. But yeah, I find it to be the most important phase. And I also think I'm like you. Like if I don't nail it down in that thumbnail, I'm giving myself a world of pain and a lot of time wasted later on. So I try to really nail it down as well. But I know like you brought up Michel Fife, and he just put out his like Making of Copra book, and he like, because he's really in a super like a great flow with himself. His the thumbnails almost indicate like nothing, like they're very minimal and they're very
pretty much
rushed.
Yeah.
So
it's
different. And when we're working for ourselves, we have that luxury.
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting to see just how wildly different that is.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny thing. One of the ways that I eventually came to doing it this way was that similarly from when I worked in film, I was usually in camera department, but I occasionally directed like music videos for bands that I knew and other little things like that. And I had worked in documentary for a while, and I learned through that process that I hate editing. Like it just takes me so long. Especially with documentary style editing, where there's just tons of footage to find the story within. So I over time figured out like how to minimize my amount of time in the editing room by like once I was doing like music videos and things that I could really plan out, that like I would just be extremely meticulous with my shot list, and even to that point, like knowing that given this song like and this shot that is going to go right here, I only need it to be a certain amount of seconds long so that it hits the beats of the song itself. So that I could then, like the last time I did that, I took a whole weekend of just listening to that song probably 100 times and getting that shot list worked out. And then once we filmed it, it was done in 6 hours, and I had a rough cut like by the end of the following day, because I had been so meticulous in making sure that it was as painless of an editing process as I could possibly make it.
This is all a major surprise to me. I had no idea you had this background, because what you're saying sounds you're speaking my language right now.
Yeah,
I understand that. I understand it all very well. I got to a funny place in the video work I was doing where I knew how to do exactly what you're saying for the exact reason that you're saying it. But not only was I doing like literal documentary work, I got to a place where I like actually enjoyed having a slight documentary element within my music videos. And I just couldn't avoid it. I was like, even though I was trying to streamline it so I didn't have to spend any extra time, I knew that it was going to go to like a really special place if I allowed for that documentary element to creep in. But God, I'm with you. I absolutely hate editing. It's just not something I ever want to do for a living. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud just in case I have to, but you know.
Yeah, it's not the ideal.
No. Would you mind holding some of those? Not all of them necessarily, just like one or two. Maybe the page we're on. Would you mind holding that thumbnail up close to the camera? So
Yeah. So
nice. Okay, I see. Yeah, very good. So
So yeah, it's
you've
very
made
close. Like really,
you've essentially printed out a little template for yourself, right? Am I
basically,
wrong on that?
yeah,
Nice.
pretty much. Like because again, I do print out these thumbnails on the board itself. Most of the time, it's I'm pretty good at hiding it for the final product, but there's occasionally like little, very faint kind of printer dots in
Yeah.
light gray that you can see through some of the um, some of the
That's
watercolor and all that.
that's awesome though. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can get a tiny glimpse into the process essentially,
Yeah. I'm
but
gonna turn the page. Let me know if you want to say
yeah,
anything or slow down. But I'm doing a page
nah,
turn.
all
Um,
good.
yeah, you've got this wonderful like, um, I don't know what you call this. This is sort of like a digital technological readout. Am I interpreting that right? Coming off of your
Yeah,
computer? Yeah.
yeah. Essentially, yeah, because like she's asking Hank, this little crystal like familiar guy, for like
Who
what are
who I love, by the way. His name is Hank. He's great.
the statistics? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like what's the sort of statistics? What like will this be useful to us? So he's reading that out in sci-fi fantasy mumbo jumbo that only they understand.
Yeah. So Zethia has a language that she speaks with Hank. That's great.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is more a really good, like big example of that textile piece in there. And there's a lot of collage on this, like the cloak itself, of course, as stated, but also all of these blue flowers are uh, from a just a sheet of light blue paper that I've then gone in with colored pencil and Poscas to add all of these other little elements to it.
Very nice. Do you have a example you use, or could you like list it all off, or is it so mixed that you don't even remember everything?
Kind
Oh, I was asking if you know exactly how many different types of media you use, or is it so much that you're not sure? Like, have you used like three markers, a
of,
pencil, watercolor, like that type of thing?
I haven't tallied it exactly, but uh, certainly over 10 different mediums throughout. I mean, just on this page, there's gouache throughout a lot of it, and ink wash,
Obvi-
colored pencil, paint, markers. The backgrounds for these panels of her starting to cast a spell, as well as the final panel with the big sweeping magic. There's a lot of spray paint in there, like a lot of that
oh wow,
spatter
really?
is spray paint. Yeah, and same with just the background for both of those middle ones are entirely spray paint.
So are you masking things off and spraying, or doing it first?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've used like Frisket film for that, and there's a little bit. It probably won't read from the quality of the video, but like there's you can barely see on the actual physical page just like the slight indentation from X-Acto cuts. So
Nice.
there's a lot of that. I don't use a ton of spray paint. There's like maybe 4 pages, 3 pages total that I do that, but it felt like just like an extra element that would be fun and quick.
Yeah.
Like half of my decisions with like which medium I was going to use when was kind of just whatever I was feeling right then and there, like just whatever whims I was feeling.
Yeah.
So it would often I would often start the page and I would know some elements, like I stay pretty consistent with how I do Zethia's colors and everything, but for everything else, it would be just kind of deciding on the fly.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I'm finding myself in a funny territory where I want to not I don't even know if I just want to have more fun and play around more.
I mean, I should, you know?
100%. There's just something about watching people like mask an area off and take a toothbrush and spray the ink on it that gets me like really particularly excited to make art, specifically comic art.
Yeah,
Whenever I see anyone do.
totally.
Um,
Yeah, it's something about that is very infectious feeling.
yeah, it is. Um, what else? Should I do a page turn, or do you want to say anything else about these pages?
Uh, we could keep rolling.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. I like how you're playing around with your layouts. You're mixing. You're mixing up your layouts. Sometimes you're squeezing in a lot
Mhm.
of panels. Sometimes three or the nine.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I want to always play around with that. Like as much as I love a lot of comics that do stick to grids, I always enjoy really like messing with all of the possible ways that you can orient things and see how it fits and flows, and deciding like when, in what ways you want to kind of give a page more room to breathe, or like make it more tight and tense, like
Yeah,
whether it be with like bigger gaps in the like within the panel gutters, or uh, just a very vacant panel itself,
yeah,
any of that kind of stuff. This part on the left facing left side page was a big experiment. I mean, first this kind of guy in the forefront looking like a mailman sort of thing is from a Life magazine like photo book. It was a rhino's head that have like gotten rid of the horn and squished together, and like a mailman's body that I've then in whiteout and marker and uh, Kuretake pen like augmented to be semi sci-fi. But the background, all of this like dirt, mud, whatever, walking through is a couple of different shades of brown gouache, on which was a little nerve-wracking because obviously screen tone sheets are not cheap. It could have been a big disaster. It was a big experiment to try to do it, and while the gouache paint was drying, it was definitely warping the screen tone. But thankfully, like once it dried perfectly flat.
yeah. I can't say I've heard of many people putting paint on top of screen tone. That's the first for me.
I don't know of anybody who's done it personally,
Yeah, I don't know
but
anybody. That's badass. Very cool. And I love this character, by the way. It's funny how like, you know, a pretty long time. There's a lot of thought that went into it, and it's just this guy who's kind of he's between two frames, is off here on the side, but so awesome. Yeah.
thank you. It's one of those things I've found from like how it takes, multiple hours, many hours to work on a page. So I find there's plenty of time while doing it to start like just have your brain like going on creative decisions that you haven't had to make just yet. So there, like I didn't know what was going to go here really at first, but I knew I wanted to be some sort of person, and I wanted all the background people to be a little bit like less detailed and less fully rendered. So decided to just sketch them in real quick, and that the purple on them is colored pencil, but then for the big guy up front, I think I was just looking through all of my possible things that I had and decided, oh yeah, let's like collage together a weird creature, some sort of humanoid thing. And since it is like a science fantasy thing, I can really like play, like go wild with whatever. Like this shop guy over here is very inspired by old like Basil Wolverton, artist from the Golden Age. He had very strange looking aliens that he would always draw. So just wanting to experiment with every possible way of making a different alien creature.
I mean, it's super fun. So, yeah, really, I guess that's something you got to remind yourself, right? Like, let's have fun making alien creatures. And
Yeah.
speaking of, there's Kraz. He's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
very important character for this issue. Did I say his
Yeah.
name right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he was a fun one to kind of mess with because he's got very traditional sort of like fantasy elf ears, but beard is sort of, I don't know, like fantasy dwarf like, but then like the rest of his face wanted to be way more alien. So he really kind of fits some very much in the middle of that like slider of fantasy and sci-fi that this whole book sits within. He was one of the later designs that I did for important characters from this issue. For a while, I wasn't entirely sure what he was going to look like, and even I think the decision to give him sort of like long slitted eyes, like a cat or a snake, was later on. Like basically once I decided to I was on the actual page.
Nice. You mean you came up with that design while you were drawing the final page?
Yeah. I had the majority of them kind of figured out, but then just as I was working on the final page, I was like, yeah, just have him have these long slitted eyes instead right now.
Nice. And I'm definitely noticing a lot of texture here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that literal textured something
it is
on your page?
It is. So I'll take this page out of the portfolio actually so that we can get a better view without glare. Yeah. So it's a few different sheets of paper actually. Like the sign and the window frame is on the same board as like the rest of the page, but then the wall background and the window itself are separate sheets. And you can see it vaguely, it's all taped together in various ways. So the wall texture is from some watercolor paper that I just slathered with gouache, and while it was drying, kind of dabbed at it a bit, and then more of it started to come off, including some of the paper. So that ended up making it even more textured, which is accidental, but it made the effect even more apparent. So it's like truly like a stucco feel.
Yeah, stucco. You're doing stucco on your comic pages. Who else is doing stucco on their comic pages? I want to know.
Yeah.
Are you like very zen? Like you sound very zen when I'm talking to you now, and as you're describing it, it seems like this, I did that and I did this. Are you like not anyone who panics while you're working on your art? If something goes wrong, you're like, I'll just incorporate it in now. Or do you have moments where you freak out a little bit and you're like, oh no, I fucked it up?
Oh, there's definitely some panic moments. I definitely, I do have an anxiety disorder, so there's plenty of anxious moments throughout life and also working on pages.
Yeah. But
I've definitely gotten to a point where I can just remind myself, just like trust the process. It'll look good eventually. If something screws up on here, I'll find a way to fix it.
Nice.
Or just accept it, one or the other.
I
I had to
mean,
do that a lot.
I'm sorry, what were you gonna say? You had to do it a lot.
I had to do that a lot on the thing I did immediately prior to this, which was a 5-page part of Ghost Agents Metropolis, the like most recent collection that came
Oh,
out.
nice.
Uh, this one here, um, like that was I've mentioned in a few other spots that this was kind of my testing ground for going as mixed media as I do now. Um, so like there's this monster, this very like weird Lovecraftian, like non-Euclidean thing, and there was a lot of times while I was waiting for paint to dry on this thing that I had to just tell myself, trust the process. This looks awful now, but like with painting and especially mixed media and stuff, like if you just keep going, you'll find it.
Yeah. One thing I always have to remind myself that I've learned from a lot of people over the years is just it. A lot of it does come down to the amount of love and the amount of time you show something. So in moments
Mhm.
of panic, I'll go walk my dog. I'll just calm down or something, get away, and come back and just remind myself, like, even something Todd McFarlane says, which is like, you think that you might need to say fix this part of the drawing, but his attitude is just work the whole page. Like, maybe you've actually spent too much time on that part, and just
Mhm.
overall amount of love. Like, if you put 5 hours in, give it another hour. Maybe by the end of that hour, something will change. It usually does, especially in moments of panic.
Totally. Yeah.
But you're also working in such a way where it's kind of like you're kind of going for things. You want things unexpected to happen, it seems, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of similar to something you touched on earlier with like what David Finch was saying in that interview you mentioned. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's that like it can be easy to feel like you stagnate in your art and that
Right.
like you're just like stuck in doing one thing, and that's something that I struggled with for a very long time. So getting to this point now, this is like the ultimate way for me to like feel energized by my art, because I definitely like very quickly, like from within like a few pages, if I were to just do traditional like pen and ink, I will often get bored with it. So
Yeah.
I like will switch styles, I'll switch mediums now, kind of whatever I need to do to keep myself interested in making the thing.
Yeah.
So being able to experiment is very necessary for me to even just like the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there is elements of like I want to have certain things figured out, but there are other times where I just want to embrace the kind of surprise and the unknown. And I mean, throughout this issue in particular, I'm like you're watching me figure out a lot of these mediums way better than I had prior with Ghost Agents or in those sketchbooks in that zine that we'll look at in a little while. Like all that, like there's a page later on here where I specifically remember working on one panel that's a lot of gouache and feeling like, oh, now I know how to do this specific thing. Like I've got my wet blending technique down now.
Nice. Um, I also just since we're bringing it up, just anyone who's listening, Ghost Agents, which you showed us a few minutes ago, is also published by Cosmic Lion, written by Raphael
Mm-hmm.
Jerome, and it's I mean, is it considered an anthology, or is it more like, is it kind of like he's crafting? It's not quite an anthology. It's more like he's crafting an overall story, and a lot of artists are contributing to separate segments of the story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's somewhere. It's kind of anthology, kind of not. Somewhere in between. Like it
right.
is all these different artists, and each story can stand alone, and each issue can stand alone.
Right.
But if you want to dive deeper and like read all of it, and even kind of look into the tiny details, you can figure out the overarching story for all of it. because it
Yeah,
all does fit together at some point.
yeah, I appreciate you showing that. I actually have my issues in a different room, so I wouldn't be able to bring them up on screen right now. But yeah, so we're on these next two pages, and
Hmm.
again, I'm just seeing a lot of different play going on, like everything from
Yeah.
the final panel here, which looks super fun and expressive. Um,
Hmm.
and you know, I
Yeah.
just feel like the variety does a lot. It does a lot to move your eye around the page. It does a lot to suck you into the page. It's just
Hmm.
visually stimulating and exciting to look at.
Thank you. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's definitely the goal. Like, so much of it is, as kind of mentioned, inspired by, say, like Bill Sienkiewicz, and like I will often just pick up one of his comics that I've read hundreds of times already, and just to kind of look at specific panels and be like, okay, what is this here that he's messing with, and like how did he achieve this effect, and what medium is it here and there. So I wanted to do elements like that and just have fun, like this. Yeah,
I'm sorry
this
to cut.
panel
I
here.
didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, finish what
You're
you're
good.
saying.
This panel here with Kraz and like the mirror behind him shattering,
Mm.
um, that is tinfoil for the mirror.
Oh wow, look at that. That's wild. You know, I
Yeah.
saw I kind of saw over people's shoulders when we were at IC3, so I got a little bit of a glimpse at the original art, but I did not really get to look closely. And that's just you have tinfoil on your pages. You just keep surprising and topping and like again, who else is putting tinfoil on their pages out there?
Right. Yeah, it was funny. I specifically remember when I was showing these to Eli, and then also when I was showing these to Chris Anderson. Both of them pointed out like, "Ooh, I wonder how that's going to scan." And
Hmm.
at the time I hadn't, so it was a big mystery, but it worked out really great. So.
I mean, I don't know. It sounds like you have some digital versatility because you can always, I don't know, are you just scanning and then using that one scan? Because you could always play with angles and photoshopping different parts on as well to get it, if you are doing textures that are shiny like that, how did that work out?
There's
Was that a solid scan or did you actually do a lot of like manipulation?
That was a solid scan, just for that. Like I did nothing to the tinfoil
Hmm.
to make it pop the way that it does. There is certainly some like digital elements. Like anybody would likely notice that like I don't do any color on Zethia's skin tone on the original board. That is all digital. And there are certain points like the sword and helmet, which the helmet is from our friend Rick Lopez's comic Cosmic Cat.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Gotta get him on.
and similar to like this panel here of Kraz handing her that Eldritch beacon emitter, like there is digital elements, and even like I kind of fix uh, anatomy error on the first panel of page on the right, like his hand, I kind of moved around a little bit in Photoshop after the fact, but I like to try to have as much of the finished product on the physical page as possible.
Yeah.
Like I have been using Photoshop since I think version 8, maybe back in like 2002, 2003. So I'm proficient in it, very much so, but I like to have something about like the physical tactile nature of the page is just way more enjoyable to me
Yeah.
than doing very much digital.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing that despite all the changes in technology, that so many of us still love the paper and the physical mediums. And I'm
Hmm.
100% with you on that. So,
Yeah.
and out I brought out this Sienkiewicz book just to tell a silly story. The signature,
Hmm.
$25. I felt butthurt. I was like, oh man, I'm paying $25 for a signature. And it was at the end of San Diego Comic Con. I was exhausted. I'd been talking to like so many people
Hmm.
And when I got to him and I had just paid $25, I had nothing left in me to talk. I just had nothing that was coming out of my mouth anymore. And I was feeling like stupid for paying $25 for a signature. And he stared at me and I stared at him, and we had no verbal exchange whatsoever. We just stared at each other awkwardly, and then I walked away. I was just it was literally at the end of the thing, and like I had so many great experiences and I had a bunch of bad experiences, and I was just exhausted. I had no energy left, you know. I
Yeah.
just wasn't able to formulate words anymore. Like,
I mean, understandable. Yeah. At the end of a show like that, that is, you,
I think
it gets rough.
I wasn't like tabling at that, and I feel like tabling, as rough as that is, it's I was just walking around nonstop talking to everybody, giving out my comic that year. It was like 2022, I think, and I think that was even more exhausting than having like a home base. And I wasn't making money. I was just giving shit away for free and blowing money left and right.
Sure.
So it was actually more draining just to be there doing that, I think, than it would be to table. Um,
Yeah, sometimes it just does that. Like, I mean,
but I,
certain shows, like when you are tabling, it's incredibly exhausting, and other times
yeah.
it's the other way around.
But I'm like, I don't want to be negative. Like, I'm really like psyched about it all, getting into comics again, and being at these
Hmm.
cons is so exciting, and I love it so much, man. And there's way more
Yeah,
positives than there are negatives. That was just like exhaustion eventually gets the best of all of us when we push ourselves. But
certainly. Yeah,
these
yeah.
conventions are amazing, man. And IC3 remains like one of the most unique conventions I've ever been to. Just
Hmm.
for the sheer fact that everybody had been talking online, and pretty much everybody met for the first time that weekend. And it was just such a unique moment. You know, it
Yeah,
wasn't like any other con I've ever experienced or heard of, for that matter.
yeah. That was the most special part of it was so many of those folks that were there I've known exclusively online since the start of lockdown in 2020, and a lot of us like hung out so many times over Zoom and all that it just felt like it was way past time that we would be in the same room together finally.
Yeah,
And I didn't think I was going to be able to go. Like since for one, I didn't even apply to get a table just because I didn't really have enough things that I felt like warranted
yeah,
me having a table at that moment, and like I just didn't think like logistically I was going to be able to make it, but I just happened to within like the few weeks before made the calls like, no, I can do it, and I should do it because 90% of my pals that I haven't met in person are going to be there, so I can finally see them. Uh, so I drove up from Austin to New Haven. Like I've done a
oh
ton of road
wow,
trips, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. Like I've spent so much time on the road,
yeah.
so I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll just do it. The only person I told prior to like hitting the road was Eli. So most people, it was a big surprise that I was even there.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was pretty last minute as well, and I did not officially have a table either, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like it's just hard. I don't know where you're at financially or with your job or what you do for a living or anything, but I'm like pretty financially uh, squeezed right now. So I want to be going to more cons, and I get more work at the cons, and it's just so great to meet people who are into the things you're into. It's just a different level of connection. It's just hard to connect with people in the real world who love comics, and
Totally.
so it's like so necessary to get to these things. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just right now I gotta pick and choose, and I'm at a point where I'm trying to like make more money and make more art. So maybe going to
Yeah.
every convention is not the greatest idea. Although literally today, I think I got a DM. I might have a ride to get to the NEP Comic Con in
We're
August. I might. We'll see.
That's the tough part of this side of things is just figuring out which cons you want to be at,
Right.
can be at, and what that will cost you in money, time, every possible resource, you know.
Right.
So thank you, real quick. Thank you, Alexis. This comic is called Zethia Space Witch. It's the first issue, published by Cosmic Lion Productions. You can purchase that on cosmiclineproductions.com currently.
Yeah. I have a feeling Alexis follows them. I feel like I've
Hmm.
seen Alexis in my lives and commenting on other people's things. Cosmic Lion is the shit. Everybody should follow Cosmic Lion and get involved with Cosmic Lion.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Um, I'm gonna do a page turn.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
Mention anything, you know. Oh, actually, I want to mention something. Just shouting out in the mixed media, we got. I imagine this is almost like collage here, where you got a photograph of a
Yeah.
classic jack o' lantern and this hourglass.
Mhm.
Just I'm just seeing things that look like collage here, which is very cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's all of the things on this shelf at the bottom. Like it's cut off in the a little bit by her speech bubble in the final, but there's a coffee mug as well. There's
Yeah,
like a sticker of an old hourglass. Yeah,
so cool, man. This is great stuff. This is very. It just gets me
appreciate it.
excited. And I forget what's his name. Hank. I love Hank, man.
Hank.
I really love Hank.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he.
Is Hank a crystal? He is like a living crystal.
Yeah. He's like basically three crystals, like where his head would be, and like the rest of his body is also made of like smaller crystal, but like kind of the anatomy of like a little dog with made out of crystal.
Yeah, he's a funny combination of cute and like kind of like crystals. I think are kind of cool, and
Hmm.
yeah, just it's funny because there's no eyes. But somehow he's like a cute little character. And just to point out the way all this page is going, uh, these graphics are great. I think one of the first things I commented on was this panel, and
Hmm.
it's all building up to this reveal of this character right here, which I love. I
Yeah.
love how the whole room turns black and white, and now you even just have a line drawing. Well, it's
Hmm.
also got obviously some shading and texture, but you know, there's a lot of just line work in here. That's pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to like find a really great way to just make the entrance of this spirit pop as much as possible, just like have a big statement piece. So uh, did a little bit of a watercolor kind of like ochre yellow on the two of like Zethia and Kraz, but
Yeah,
uh,
very subtle,
not only
but it helps pop them off the background very nicely.
mhm. Yeah, and not only did I want just the background to be fully black and white to make that emphasis, but I went for the messiest, like off kilter kind of thing that I could. Like the perspective is warping in a few different ways, and I most of my inking is with G-nibs, so I decided to intentionally use like a very worn down one that was already past its prime, so that it would give me an even like messier, more like gross, lively line for all of this. And then there's lots of like fingerprint smudges
I was
and
gonna say,
all
yeah, I
sorts of
see
things.
thumbprints. Yeah, when I
Yeah, and then
when
all
I
of
see it when I see a thumbprint, I get very excited
mhm.
when I see a thumbprint incorporated into a piece.
I used to do that a lot more often, probably like 10 years ago, roughly. And it phased out of majority of my work, especially because I am not doing a lot of just straight up pen and ink. But uh, those moments where I feel like I need to get really messy with that ink, like I love doing fingerprints in there and just like, especially in like weird little splotches. Like my hands are always like so messy by the end of
Yeah.
working on a page anyway.
Smudges are one thing, but a good thumbprint is just so satisfying. And
Yeah.
do you paint with oil by any chance?
No, that's one of the only paint mediums I have yet to tackle.
The one you'd want to just be a little more careful with for health purposes, but yeah,
Certainly.
yeah. That's the thing I always think about. It's like how toxic are all these things I'm using? Like we all know cadmium red is very toxic, but Like what else? Like isn't just all of it toxic? I don't know. I just
Uh,
wonder how unhealthy it is.
there are definitely certain paints. Like I do always look when I'm like selecting a shade. Like I look on the back if it says like has that little disclaimer of this contains some like something that is known by the state of California to cause cancer or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Like that thing that's on so many things. Like I do often look at that just to see what is the most toxic versions of these things. But
yeah.
I mean, so much of the world is just straight up toxic in some way, shape, or form. That like,
Sadly true.
yeah,
Yeah.
that like, I mean, even oxygen is like trying to kill us in its own way. So to a certain
Yeah.
degree, like there's certain things that you definitely want to avoid, but like at some point you kind of have to make the decision that you're going to just accept certain things
Yeah.
are going to kill you.
Right. Oh, the sad realities of modern living. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, this page is really exceptional. I love a good splash page. I love a good double page spread. I love when you've been building up to something and a comic artist really times it right, like you did here. It's very well done.
Thank you. Speaking of timing, on this next page, the flip side of it with the kind of reveal of what the spirit is and why it's here and all that.
Yeah.
This layout was not the original like thumbnail layout, and I have here it's even kind of crossed out, but basically like these first two panels took up the entire width of the page originally, and then the little sliver of Krause's head was on the next row, and this full panel of Zethia was in the center, and then there was another like more full shot of the psychopomp there, but it didn't feel like it was giving enough time and like room to breathe in this moment of like realization that's happening through it. So it's the only time I like redid the thumbnail and moved everything to like moved this from here up to there a little bit, and then added these three kind of pleading reaction shots of Kraz with the spirit kind of looming over him more and more.
Yeah. Please, no, I'm not ready. I beg you. I beg of you. Yeah, I mean, I want to point out this is the Psychopomp. Great name. Excellent name. And, Zethia's explaining that's what it is to Kraz, and he's not ready for it. So this is great. Nice panel work. This is how
Thank you.
panels
Yeah.
really, this is like the strength of comics, things you can do to have an emotional effect.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, that was a big part, like trying to figure that out and like make sure this moment had the heft that it needed. And I decided this is another example similar to that stucco thing. Is like those three panels are separate paper that I then like cut in to place on the. It's on some watercolor paper, so it has the that kind of texture of the cold press watercolor paper, so that
cool,
then it's and then all of that is white and black charcoal pencil. And after I would do one of them, I would then like spray that with like a matte finish so that it like was sealed in, and then I would do the next panel and do that over again until I had all of them exactly right.
wow. And I love this too. That like there's so much to talk about because we can talk about all the mediums and all the things you're going for, but just this building up. There was a build up to this page, and there's a lot of angst and anxiety about this whole scene, and then a little bit of comedy at the end because Zethia says, "Hey, how about you come have some tea at my home?" And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah, it felt important as I mean, first like when I decided that this issue was about like death and like a spirit of death dealing with the knowledge of your inevitable demise and grief and all that kind of stuff, like which I only even like vaguely remember elements of how that came to pass. Like, but that's a whole another side of this story. But I decided I knew like with who Zethia was as a character, like she's not her first instinct is not to like go like try to fight something or even like try to make it so that like, she can then run away, steal Kraz away from death and like save him kind of thing. It's more a quiet, reserved like, hey, this is an inevitability. I know this from my knowledge of magic and the universe and all that kind of stuff. But maybe we can have like a moment to just like relax, let him kind of deal with this sudden realization and even possibly come to terms with things. So I knew there was like, it had to be a moment where she's saying, hey, time out for a second. Like, what if we go have some tea before you go?
I really love that. And did you watch Game of Thrones or read Game of Thrones? Are you into that at all?
I watched it. Yeah.
I think it's pretty universally agreed upon that Tyrion Lannister was like the greatest character on the show, or one of at least. And his greatest strength was, I think, very similar to Zethia. Instead of, obviously, he couldn't, like, fighting wasn't the foot he had to lead off on. So he would always, there would always be characters saying it needs to be this way or that way, and he would always come in with a or this way, and very comedically have like a third alternative, and just a master of it doesn't always need to go to fighting, and yeah, I think it's great, man. I actually thought it was hilarious. This whole next bit is actually just very hilarious to me that death is just being postponed through a tea time. Like,
yeah. That was another part that I wanted to definitely like lean into is like fun and whimsy. Like I said this recently when I was in an interview with Longbox Punk that I want more fun and levity and whimsy in media, just because there's so many awful things in the real world that we have to deal with, especially these days. So like I think it's important for everybody to be able to have those moments here and there.
Did you read Dragon Ball Z or watch not Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, or watch it?
I've read a little bit of it back in the day.
I could totally just confess, like I only started reading the first volume on the train up to go to IC3, and I finished it a few weeks after that. And everybody had always been telling me how amazing it was, because I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z growing up, watching the anime and everything. But Dragon Ball is exceptional. It's different. It hasn't reached just the all-out fighting that Dragon Ball Z has. And there's a lot of outwitting and witty comedy and a lot of levity and a lot of like very playful scenarios unfolding that are just like absolutely heartwarming. Like I was getting goosebumps constantly reading it, and not in like a not like a super cute, but it's just like it was so heartwarming. And and speaking of which, we have made this page turn, and Fenry, what do you call Fenry? He's like a golem house or a what do you
like
a castle,
a mech.
Yeah, mech.
Yeah, castle, not a mech. Which he is a physical model.
Yeah. Yes. Which, there it is. Okay, I was gonna say, keep bringing it on the screen, which is just so awesome, man. It is so incredible.
Hey, yeah, he's made from all sorts of things. Like a lot of it's trash. There's craft foam and like random pieces of like charms and whatnot. But like underneath this brick texture and stuff, his head and like the base of his body is from like a matcha powder tin, which means I can move his head because it is the lid. I cannibalized one of those like cell phone tripods that are super bendy, so that I can pose his arms a little bit. Uh,
Can you hold that towards the top of your frame so we can see it a little bit better? Yeah, that looks so cool. So the next logical question for me is like, have you done stop motion? Are you considering doing stop motion with it?
I did one once. Trying to think, probably still when I was in elementary school, I took like a stop motion class, like a summer class or
Yeah.
something. Um, but beyond that, I haven't really considered any stop motion. Like a lot of this comes from just getting into making little like D&D terrain sort of things.
Yeah, yeah. It's more the model making rather than you're not trying to animate necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. Like like Fenry's as posable as I could get him easily for just so I can like, use him properly within the comic itself. Yeah, the uh, especially given like how little I enjoyed editing, I don't know if I would necessarily enjoy the like how
Oh,
long it would take
oh
to
yeah,
do stop motion.
yeah. I get asked all the time if I want to do animation or stop motion. I have done it. I love doing it, but I think for me, and a lot of people that we're meeting on the comic scene, it's like making the story a reality through the comic is way more important to me than anything else right now. And to
Hmm.
get sidetracked with like days and days of animation, it's just not what I feel like where I need to be spending my time right now. As like
Yeah,
awesome as it would
totally.
be, it's like yeah.
Yeah. So
But
this
that's
guy
so cool. I
is
mean, this is
then.
like seeing Fenry just gets everybody so excited because again, it's just who else is making. I know Sean Gordon Murphy makes like 3D models of the cars that he draws in his comics,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of maybe you're not the only one who's like making 3D models of your stuff, but I don't see anyone really incorporating that model directly into their comic the way you have here, which is
Yeah,
really refreshing and exciting.
thanks. Yeah, I for a while I wasn't sure how I was going to integrate him fully into it. Like initially, the idea was that like, maybe it's the like I take the photo of him and then in Photoshop like make it black and white, like threshold really high so that it turns them into just black line work, and then I color it. Or as you can kind of see from the original of this page, potentially is that like I turned it into color screen tone. I thought that might be what I would do, but then decided like once I was working on this left page, I just plopped him whole cloth into this panel and saw it. Immediately started chuckling and I was like, yeah, that's how we look. This is exactly how it's supposed to be.
It's so cool, man. Um,
I,
and another great thing to point out is the way to enter. Because as soon as I turned to this page, I'd already seen. I think you brought the model up with you to IC3, but I definitely seen him on the pages. And I remember turning on this page and thinking, so how do they get in this guy? And then, boom, here it is, through the hand.
yeah, so that was a fun accident. I realized like I'd made Fenry before I started on any of the art for this is before I even like started scripting thumbnailing this issue. I just had a loose plot, but I made him beforehand, and I realized as I was like starting to like write and thumbnail these 2 pages that I didn't make like an obvious like hatch where for them to enter or anything like that. So for a brief moment, I was unsure how that was going to happen, and then I was just kind of like flipping him around, messing with him, and I remembered that he has this little like circle like thing on the middle of his hand, and I thought, well, I don't know what that was for. It was just a cool detail, but what if that's just a like a suction hose and like, just get in through that weird way?
That's great. This is how things get created.
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
it seemed just ridiculous enough that it was going to fit perfectly in this. And like similar to figuring out how I ended up putting him in the final page. Me thinking of that, I was like, yeah, of course that's hilarious. I love that. It has to be that way.
And this is great too. The way you've what do you call it? Cross-sectioned him in a way.
Yeah, kind of a breakaway.
Yeah, is that what you call it? I don't know, but I
Possibly.
love the mix of graphics for somebody who's obviously doing mixed media. It's just you're pushing a lot of different things in different directions, and it's super fun and exciting to see.
Thank you. Yeah,
see something like that mixed with the photograph of the actual 3D sculpture.
Yeah, it's funny the way the way I did it was even though in Photoshop I did kind of cut away at parts of this before I printed on the page. All of this section of the kind of breakaway area is just a bunch of whiteout and then marker and ink on top of that whiteout and a little bit of pencil for the inside like walls. But just to give that it kind of gives it a more see-through quality, I think. Like all of the tones are more muted and light, so it had a different feel than anything else. It just felt right for sort of the diagram-ish nature.
It is. And what is Delgado? Kevin Delgado just joined. I want to shout out Solstice Art, creator of tough stuff. What is this up here?
It is another one of those like textile patterns from the same book as using for Zethia's cloak.
It's just a nice you've used it as just a design element on the page.
Yeah, I figured since like this panel is not trying to show everything exactly as it is, like if you were standing there, you wouldn't be seeing the cutaway or the breakaway, whatever of that. So figured might as well add a little fun visual element, and then also with the like introduction of like his name Fenry, and then there's some little notes about like he's a decommissioned Castleknout Mark I, and then there's a bunch of dwarvish script and all that stuff. Is just figured it would be a fun extra thing, just a bit of visual noise, and also just to kind of bring him forward in the frame.
I love it. It's good. It's very solid. And
thank you.
I'm a fan of art like that. Like, was it David Mack and I feel like even Jim Affu does a lot of that, trying different patterns. But I love how you're just straight up finding textile patterns and plopping them in. Even back to Zethia's cloak, like I really love that. I love looking at it. I love doing it myself. Just taking like a pattern and plopping it in a shape. It was like super satisfying, and just playing around with the design on these pages, making it fun to look at.
Yeah, that's a big part of the goal is just I want to have fun making it, and I want it to feel fun to like look at, whether it's just you read it kind of quickly and you don't think about it again, or if you want to like really just like stare and like look at the little minutia of each page, like it's all going to be interesting in some way.
Yeah. And I wanted to say this is a nice angle on Fenry. Hello, guests. And this is after they've been sucked up through the hand. This is Zethia and Hank dropping in. Did I get the name right? It's Hank.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with names, but yeah, and then they drop in almost like a little fireplace into the very cozy looking living room. And Zethia's got coat rack. She's hanging up her patterned coats. And
so as I mentioned before, there's some other options.
Oh yeah, here's the other option that you mentioned earlier. Exactly. In the actual issue. Very cool. And what's going on with this? This is super cool. I love that. I don't even need to know it. It's just what it is. It's just awesome. I love it.
Like mostly just a visual noise kind of element to like make it feel more interesting, but it was one of those things that I thought like, well, I want to just have elements that lean in on the kind of weird tech aspect
Yeah.
of it. So very Kirby sort of shapes. I love
Yeah, you're mixing
those.
tech and magic essentially.
Yeah, so I love especially any of those weird like Kirby tech lines with circles and all that kind of stuff. I try to like integrate those into little things here and there all the time. So it was. I'm not entirely sure what it is as of yet. Maybe in future issues it will be established as something. Like just below it, there are sort of like three buttons
Yeah.
basically. So there could be something fun to do with it, but
I wouldn't
we will
dismiss it, man.
find out later.
I pointed it out. I just love it. It's great, and I think
Yeah,
like it reads. It's just it's a visual element of this world that's
totally.
more on the tech side, but it's also a little magical, and it's very cool. And
Hey,
I'm just realizing now as I reread it that again I'm gonna just go back real quick. The psychopomp. It doesn't need to get sucked in through the arm. It just appears inside.
hmm yeah, it felt like similar to like how it just like phases in
Yeah.
to Kraz's shop beforehand. Like it wouldn't.
There's no escaping this thing.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't
just
need to
appears.
take stairs or ways through arms. It's
hmm
gonna go wherever it goes. Which is actually
Exactly.
the dread of death is inescapable. It's gonna come for you no matter what.
Yeah.
And Zethia is just gonna prepare the tea. I love all
hmm
these little things. I'm assuming can I see this page this
Yeah. That,
panel
that
right here?
is that is a real tea bag that I opened and squished and covered in Mod Podge to like seal it in.
Beautiful.
And I added some of the little like collage pieces, like this colored paper into that as well
Yeah.
to sell, making it on the spot.
It's like you can kind of tell what most of it is. I didn't realize that you'd use that tinfoil on the mirror. That was wild. But this it's like knowing that how you made this, I was like, that's got to be an actual tea bag, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was a little. I had that idea for a while. I wondered how well it would scan because obviously it doesn't flatten completely out on the actual final artboard, but it worked out great. It scanned perfectly and still reads as a real thing.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful panel with the cups.
Thank you. Yeah, all of the cups and the kettle are like photo manipulations as well. Like I took photos of a few different mugs that I had and then turned them into like screen tone bitmaps in Photoshop. So for the one panel of them floating, that's again like that purple is spray paint, just like last time we saw her casting a spell. But it's just blue marker on top of the screen tone for that, and then the last two panels below are the same process, but I did a bit of gouache on top of the marker and screen tone and all that to give it a different element to it. And similar with these like blue scone looking things, those were photo manipulations, same process, just did a bunch of marker and colored pencil and paint and all that.
Are you doing like a page a day when you're doing this, or are you taking more time, less time, multiple pages a day?
It varies. Some days I've able to get through a page a day. Sometimes it's one page every 2 days.
Yeah.
It really just depends on the density of the page and especially like the different types of media I'm using on said pages.
Right.
I tried to be very strategic as I was going along, of knowing certain pages are going to take me longer, given all of those elements to it. So try to decide like, okay, I'll do this on this week, one page that I know I can get through in one day, and then one that's going to take me a couple of days, and maybe depending on how long that one ends up being, maybe I'll do one more that it will be like a one and done as well.
And I'm definitely, I was excited to talk to you about how you handled this, and it's really awesome to see the art without the words. You just left the spaces blank.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're doing a thing here where we've broken away from the speech bubbles, and each character has essentially a block of text in a different color, and it's very cool. I love it. Did you read? Have you ever read Cerebus?
I've read some of it. I think up to into Church and State.
That's when it starts to get really good. So yeah, I mean Dave Sim, for all his flaws and reasons why people don't like him anymore, I still think he made one of the greatest comics of all time, and really played around with things like just the text, the font, how characters are talking to each other, just everything.
Mm-hmm.
He would even have comics where you're reading, and as you're turning at each page, you start turning the comic around like this, and like I always thought that was
Right.
awesome. But you really are. I mean, you're really trying a lot of things throughout the course of this comic. And when I got to this page, I was like, I wonder if I'll get to a point in my story where I want to try something like that. But I love it. I really love it. I think it's great. They're sitting around. I feel like Zethia is just, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Zethia is just trying to like prolong, give her friend just a little bit extra life. Like hold on
Yeah.
as long as possible.
Yeah, basically, yeah. There's a bunch of things going on in here. Like I make sure in a bunch of these panels that has all three of them, especially like I've intentionally put Zethia in between them to give that kind of subconscious like feeling of she's staving it off this inevitability for him, and even like. I mean, going back real quick to when they're walking up, like Kraz is like looking very nervous and like scared of at the psychopomp for a long time. And again, she's in between them, and then like he's not as outwardly anxious, but still clearly kind of worried in this first panel, and he by this point. At the bottom of the page, he's at least like directly interacting with it, and it's once that conversation has been opened up, then I start having them appear, the Psychopomp and Kraz, in the same panel without Zethia to slowly signal like passage of time and like change in attitude, and even like these last three panels of Kraz where he's like has a smirk and he realizes that he's had that kind of joyous moment while facing this down, and then kind of a calm acceptance of that fact. Man.
Yeah, he's looking like he's made some peace with it at this point.
Yeah, and this, I mean, this whole spread was it was one of the last. There were some of the last pages I worked on because I wanted to. Yeah, I worked out of order quite a bit, partially based on like what things I had already figured out within like my all over the place like scripting and thumbnailing process and all that, but also with that trying to know my schedule with it so that I was maintaining a decent pace with churning everything out per week and like having the energy to do a set amount of pages per week, all that. But there was a lot of I felt like these 2 pages, so much of the story hinged on these working correctly. So I felt like I needed to have it feel like the time passed quite a bit. Like there was a long conversation, and that it lets like Kraz kind of deal with all of what's happening and give it like make it feel like it has enough time for that to logically happen, but also have plenty of room to be able to have that dialogue and kind of shift around. So I wanted to make it feel like a montage while also getting all this important conversation happening throughout it. So I wasn't sure how I was going to do it for a long time, but then I finally, like, I remembered there's a comic from probably, I want to say it was like around mid 2000s. It was the second comic that Jonathan Hickman ever did, called Pax Romana,
Mm-hmm.
which was back when he was still doing all the art for his books as well.
I haven't
Um,
read that one yet. I gotta get that. That's on my it's one of my queues.
yeah, it's that one and his first nightly news are very interesting. I mean, just visually, let alone like the story and how he's like combining the two elements together. But in the first issue of Pax Romana, there's a 2 page spread of this big debate between a bunch of characters that you don't really see afterwards, I don't think. But basically, it's a bunch of people talking about this new time travel device. It's like the first time travel has ever existed in the world of the comic, and they're all trying to decide, what do we do with this? Like, how do we use this? What's right for us to use this? What's not? All that. And so he does it in a kind of a transcript. Like all of the dialogue just has like the name or initials or something of character, and then what they say, and then there's random like faces and stuff spattered throughout the pages. And so I remembered that, and like I read that when it was brand new back then. So it had sat in like the back of my mind for a long time. Like when I had first read it, I was like, oh, this is an interesting way of doing something like that. So that just popped back into my mind out of nowhere when I was thinking about this. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll divorce the dialogue from the panels themselves and do the in these little color coded blocks so that uh, the reader can pretty quickly figure out like which color is which of the 3 characters, and so they're not exclusively relying on just like the character voice to try to figure out who it is, and then put them in these little chunks here and there. And
That is something very apparent. Like it's very easy to figure out who's talking very quickly,
mhm,
and just by the color or just by what they're saying, really. But the color helps obviously too.
yeah, yeah, and I definitely like considered too, like prior to coming to this decision, just like having certain colors be more associated with certain characters so that you have that kind of differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of all of that stuff, once I decided that this was the exact layout, I didn't want people who are less familiar with comics, especially like the language of it and like reading order of panels, because certainly there are those folks that don't read comics that will say when they pick up a comic they don't know what order to read things in. So I knew that since this was extremely unusual, that could really lose people
Yeah.
who aren't used to this sort of thing. So I decided that each area that has a text in it, that has to contain a full like thought, so to speak, that everything within there that any of them say, that has to start what they're talking about, that topic, and finish that topic. And so that you can read each of these in any order and it will still make
Oh wow.
sense.
Yeah, maybe I should I'm gonna reread it with that in mind. Evan Koy is saying that this effect also helps. What does he say? I'll just read what he says. I think it lets the negative space breathe, and it does lend it to showing a longer passage of time, which is definitely true. It feels
Yeah.
like they're really taking a tea time and reflecting on things together.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's I as I kind of laid out here, I put a lot of thought into these two pages because I felt like so much hinged on this moment for the issue to really hit the tone and like seriousness of this sort of situation while also having levity and all that. Like all of the elements of the whole issue like were boiled down to what needed to be here. So I'm very glad that it ends up working properly. Like I felt it's one of those moments like when I figured it out, and especially once I had it all laid out, I thought like, oh, this is it. It works. So I'm happy to hear that other people feel the same.
No, this spread is obviously very important to the story, and just from an art level, I just really love these graphics and marks in here. Just point that out.
Thank you.
And this panel, very very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so we're seeing that I have to always go back just to make sure I'm Kraz. We're seeing that Kraz is kind of becoming a little bit more comfortable. He's looking a little less anxious about what's happening. Although this is definitely another panel worth pointing out, his reflection in his tea.
Yeah.
And light shining in.
Yeah.
Everything's done.
Yeah, I wanted to I mean, really, it's kind of maybe ham-fisted version that is often used, but just really show the passage of time of the tea's gone, the snacks are gone, and now the sun is setting. It's very obvious metaphor, but it works, and it like really hits the like emotional beat that I was going for with it.
It really looks like it's glowing in the original art on your screen. the sunset. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of different like levels of paint and paint pen and all sorts of things on that to really try to get that going.
Yeah, I feel like your comic more than I mean all comics. It's always amazing from an art perspective to see the original art, but I feel like your comic in particular really benefits from seeing the original art.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those fun things. Definitely, like I've especially with like other artists, they've been particularly like, oh, I got to see those originals, man. Like, like when we were all like kind of wrapping up our stuff at IC3, I was mentioning these to Chris Anderson and Morgan Herron, and Morgan hadn't seen any of these pages yet, and he's like, "Oh, I got to see these." So I made sure to bring these to HeroesCon that he and I were both at. So almost first thing, he was like, "Oh, I got to see those pages, man. Can I see those pages?"
Yeah, it's probably unique to we who really love drawing or just love comics. I'm sure a lot of writers, love art as well. They chose writing because they feel like they're not the greatest artists, which is just, I feel like it's almost more of a choice than a natural thing. But yeah, the people we who make them, we love seeing it obviously more than anyone else. And it might just be unique to us, but it's undeniable that seeing the original art is just such another level of experience than looking at the printed comic.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they go hand in
totally.
hand. They kind of inform each other, and one re-excites the other.
Absolutely.
Is there anything
this
else
is
to point out on this spread?
I guess a few things like definitely that sunset page, like that's the only panel I think in this whole thing where every part of it is gouache paint. Like usually it is back and forth, but that was the only time where I made sure it was like specifically like there's not holding lines, any of that kind of thing. Like really go fully painterly to push that moment. But then on the following page, is one of those moments as I was like starting on it. It's like I knew, similar to the last two pages, like there's a lot of emotional heft that has to happen here. So wanted to take my time and make sure that I'm like really selling this like quiet contemplative moment of her grieving her friend. And a weird thing happened like while I was working on it, is like I started to feel like kind of uh, intense like grief and loss myself. Like I was getting choked up, which like I immediately caught and was like, wow, that's a interesting thing to happen while making a comic. Is like I'm feeling all of these emotions here, and I figured it's like, well, if I'm getting that sensation, then that's probably a good sign. I'm on the right track. There's a good chance people reading it will also start to feel some amount of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
One thing I try to always remind myself, especially when I'm writing bios, whether it's for social profiles or art shows, I always try to incorporate how important maintaining something emotional in my work is, and then every now and then it'll get lost and I'll forget it. It's not included, and then I'll remember. Oh, wait a minute, that's actually like a mission. That's part of my mission statement. If I don't want to forget anything, it's that I want to be connected to the emotional experience that life is, and that's, I think, the greatest power of storytelling. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's very easy to get sucked into the craft and all the technicality and plot and really get lost in all the things that need to happen to make the whole thing, and then lose the most important part, which is the emotional connection. But
Hmm.
I felt emotion reading this too. I definitely felt the loss of her friend and
Hmm.
Kraz, and it's sad. I mean, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
It makes
I,
it's a really meditative, contemplative moment, and it just feels like oh, we can't cheat this, huh? There's no way out of this. Like, not with magic, not with they can't run. It's like they
mhm.
can't fight this thing. It's like, no, this is just an inevitability.
Yeah. It like it harkens back to kind of I mentioned like as a character, like obviously we're being introduced to her in this issue, so we're only like just now kind of realizing like who she is, how she is as a person, but um, she's not the type to try to fight or run from something. Like she knows that would be futile in this sort of situation. So to at most you can delay any of it.
Yeah.
Um, one like last major thing for this page too is like this last panel where she kind of turns up and says like, okay, it's time to go. I specifically, I think there are a few other instances, at least in the print version that you have, where her eyes don't have the little white like glint in them, and that is very intentional because usually I make sure to have that little like
Right.
very cartoony cutout of the kind of light glint in her eyes, and like decided like no, she shouldn't have that. She's dealing with intense emotion, so the light, like that classic thing that people say of like the light of my life is gone because
Yeah.
someone that I love gone. So like literally, like visually, that has happened right in this moment.
Yeah. I love how you think about all this and think about how every element can affect the emotions. That's great. I feel like I
Yeah,
mean it applies to all storytelling, but I feel like it's a very filmmaker approach to think about how all these elements can help tell the story.
yeah, it definitely like my time in film helped that for sure. Certainly, like going to film school and having those like theory classes where they talk about like, oh yeah, and like that movie The Apartment, where there's a shot with the actor looking out the window, and you see the rain, like the rain, the shadows from the rain, like the way that that's playing with the light, it makes it look like he's crying, and like the world is crying for him, kind of thing. Like those sorts of little elements that people, like filmmakers, throw in, like that. Having that in the back of my mind all these years has definitely lent itself well to me thinking about that kind of thing within comics. And on top of that, like I mean, for a long time, I was a big Alan Moore fan, and I would read lots of, I would try to find like scripts that he's written, and like I have his like how-to writing comics thing from long ago and all that kind of stuff. So like he was one of the first comic writers that I knew of that tried to put a lot of those similar sorts of like thoughts into things with storytelling, all that. So, but then on top of that, I have found, especially is the case with this comic, is that I have been able to take so many disparate little elements of all of the creative things I've done with my life, be it film, comics, playing and being DMing a Dungeons and Dragons game, all of those sorts of things like that. I've found a way to utilize little things I learned in each of those, some in one way or another within this book.
That's amazing. Synthesis.
Yeah.
You're synthesizing.
Yeah.
Your many different influences. Where did you go to film school?
Here in Austin. I was just, frankly, a pretty bullshit little school that's not even around anymore. But yeah, I wasn't personally that interested in going to college at all. Like I just wanted to, make art and make comics, and I grew up in the punk scene, so I just wanted to just do, art and music. But as with so many of us, are like my parents and grandparents kind of said, you have to, you got to do it. Like it's, but thankfully they were like, at least you have to do it, but we'll let you do whatever it is you want. Like study whichever thing you want. So ended up in film, all that. But yeah, I didn't put a lot of thought and care into which school I went to, and it ended up being fine. Like there were great times with it, but there was a lot of headaches because it was not the best school ever.
Yeah. Evan Coy says comics are punk rock. I'll just fucking shout that out. Hell yeah, man. Comics are definitely punk rock. That's definitely 100%. How I feel. It's like my return to comics, I had a moment where I felt like very self-conscious, very insecure, very like nerdy, and like, oh, this isn't as cool as being a filmmaker. But honestly, I love comics. They are my first love. Like you said, they're yours. And they are fucking punk rock. And there's like so many, like some of the weirdest ideas out there in comics. And Evan says DIY until die. And like, I mean, it just goes hand in hand. Like overall, for most of comics history, it's been largely underground. Like obviously, what's his name is like Crumb is the obvious underground, but like even mainstream comics are still like, when you compare it to pop culture, very underground. And the whole thing is just like, especially when people can get out adult content within the comics, it's incredibly fucking punk. And yeah, I'm on like my life's mission now, which is not just to make my comics, but to help other people make their comics, and to just help more people appreciate comics, because it's obviously some of the greatest shit out there. And it goes
absolutely.
Like when like you really look at people who are making art and making the culture happen, they tend to be people who like everything. They like movies, they love music. A lot of musicians wanted to be comic artists. A lot of comic artists wanted to be musicians. And it's just like the people who really make these things love all of it. So I think that's just bears repeating and being heard. It's just that, like, without the people who make the stuff, nothing else gets made. So comics are DIY. It's like very few people, and in you and your case and my case, it's just us doing it ourselves. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's fucking admirable, and it's a feat. It's a real feat. And we're not even done going through your pages yet. I think these two pages are very strong, by the way. And
Thank you.
I mean, just talking about mixing the media, like this is sharp. To see this mixed in here, it works.
Thank you.
To see like that mixed in
Yeah.
with
It,
this painterly.
so the funny thing, I don't know if you caught it in the book, like, so it is inverted in color on that, but a lot of these letters and like lines and stuff, this is the edges of the screen tone sheets that I use that are usually just like, discarded.
Wow. I love it.
Let me grab one real quick. Like, uh, this is
So cool,
the
man.
leader, the barcode and all that. So just mashed it all together
So
into
cool.
like new symbols, and part of the deleter logo is just leader there, and some of the barcode, all that stuff. I figured like I have so much of this. Everyone who uses these sheets, like, but we always end up tossing those little side pieces of it. So I was like, why not? I needed a panel that had the kind of tech boot up screen stuff. So I thought I'll just throw that in. Why
It's
not?
so cool. And like let's just hold both our things up real quick, because this is the end product. You have so it's black and white down there. You inverted it. So I love it. It's so good, so strong, man. This is a great little
Thank you.
panel. I mean, I'm really like a lover of all art. So like I can get really obsessed with the fact that you made a sculpture and the fact that you're hand drawing and painting. And then even just this as a design element is just really satisfying to look at together with all of it on the page.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I love after we've had a pretty, intense, even though it's very like slightly whimsical and chill, they're just chilling, having a tea time. It's really intense what's happening, and the pages are very dense. And then I like how here she's just moving, and there's really there's some sound effects, and just two exchanges, engines ready,
mhm.
ma'am, and rest well, Kraz, and then they're taking off. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. It is one of the things with this series overall is that like I want the issues to feel like they can stand alone. So the A plot is very much introduced in the issue and then wrapped up by the end of it. But then that there will be an overarching B plot throughout the series that will slowly but surely be like come into view. So this was one of the kind of necessary part to make sure that we're moving on to next time sort of thing.
Yeah, the first page or the second page, well, first and second page, Zethia's collecting, or these are flowers, I guess, right? Would you call them
Mhm.
flowers? And
Yeah.
and she's like, "Do you think these will get us all the way to Kusmar?" So she's on a mission. She's got something going on. She's picking up things going on town, and this issue is essentially like a little like tangent away from her mission, where she says goodbye to a friend. She says goodbye to Kraz.
Mhm.
She didn't know that was going to happen. It just kind of happened along the way. And
Yeah.
the psychopomp comes along. This was Kraz's inevitable demise, and she just gives a little break from the inevitable. And this is really beautiful how they're all pondering things together. I mean, I feel like reading this page, I felt connected to the psychopomp. I no longer feared it or hated it as much as I did when it first appeared. It's like
Mhm.
kind of funny that you did that. Um, and
Awesome.
yeah, it's
That
just
was
we all. What do you say?
that was definitely kind of the goal of like make it an interesting character as like horrifying as it is.
Yeah,
Like that the term psychopomp is actually like anthropological term, I guess. It's not something I came up with. It's essentially the term for any sort of personification of death. So the Grim Reaper is a psychopomp, and I only found that name out a few years ago and just have thought it was a really cool name. And I think as I was it was probably like beginning of this year as I was starting to try to come up with the plot for this issue, just ran into that term again. And I think that's what got the ball rolling on this issue being about death and having a psychopomp in it. But I wanted it to be an interesting character, and especially with the melding of sci-fi and fantasy throughout this, like kind of touch on the elements that they talk about in that two-page tea time spread, where like there are so many different gods and beliefs within one species of creature within the universe, let alone the like millions, billions, however impossible number, many of all of the creatures everywhere. So if with space travel and maybe one alien goes to a far off planet and converts to a religion over there, then like does the psychopomp from their original, like from their home planet, from their like original faith, have jurisdiction on them, or does it is it from this new one? You know,
Yeah,
like
they're
where does
talking about
that lie?
jurisdiction. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, it was somebody had mentioned it feels very Discworld, which I admit I haven't read any of those books, but I do know a little bit about them and how there is, death is also a recurring character in that and is treated as kind of a darkly comedic figure
What's it
within it.
called? Discworld?
Yeah, it's a Terry Pratchett series of novels.
I'm not
I
familiar.
forget the titles of it. It's supposed to be like a very tongue-in-cheek comedic fantasy series,
Yeah,
but
it's one of
yeah, it was,
those.
I guess,
It's one of those word
accidental.
books with no pictures. I'm not much of a reader these days. I've read a lot when I was younger, but
Mhm.
it was my return to comics. I was having a hard time even just reading comics because I would always say
Sure.
I'm so busy. But now I've just prioritized reading comics, and maybe I'll get back to reading novels. But I'm just like, if I have free time, I'm reading comics. I'm not reading a novel right now, but I wish I could. But that's not true because we do spend so much time at the drawing board. So I could do like an Audible or something,
Mhm.
which I actually love
Yeah,
doing.
I am very slow with reading like novels most of the
Yeah.
time, admittedly too, and I definitely read way more comics than any sort of prose or nonfiction or anything like that.
I really
But
just need to open up an Audible account because I feel like I'm tapping out on a lot of podcasts, and sometimes I don't feel like listening to music, and a book is perfect. A book on tape is perfect.
yeah, yeah. If you have Spotify, there's a bunch of audiobooks on there,
Yeah.
and like with some are included with premium. Uh, like on my way up to IC3, I listened to The Hobbit narrated by Andy Serkis, and it was it was phenomenal. That's included with premium right now. I think most of the Tolkien.
Nice, man. Yeah. I
But
always got to
anyhow,
remind myself about books on tape. I've just been so in like the podcast zone, but yeah, it might be time, especially now that I'm like writing. I'm like actually writing more than I'm drawing right now, or at least trying to. And I should probably be absorbing story more. I think that's why I'm reading more comics than ever
I
too.
feel it.
Because I'm like I'm so like back fully in love with it, and to read even just reading one comic, whether it's objectively good or whether I like it or not, it doesn't matter how good or bad the comic is. Just the act of reading a comic gets me super pumped to write every single time. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's just why I feel that's just where I'm at. I'm way more in like reading comics than anything else. But yeah, whenever it comes time to draw, throw on books on tape. And again, it's like I was just commenting how a lot of these pages have been visually dense, and then here we get to a point where there's just even a lot being talked about, and then this very sad moment happens where Zethia loses her friend, and then the pages kind of give way to like more visual storytelling, and even a very simplified ending in a way where it's just very graphic.
Hmm.
And this is just this is just absolutely beautiful. This page, I think a lot of people are going to compliment you on. I'm sure they already are. If they're not, I'm sure you're going to get more compliments on. It's just a great page, and so is this one.
Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, so funny thing, both of these pages were added very last second. Basically, how it was scripted and thumbnailed out, like the prior pages went directly into the last page following the spread for a long time. But then as I was making it, I realized like, no, that feels way too abrupt. It's jarring of a jump from there to there. So I needed this moment to like let it breathe, let us see the like fun and interesting element of them shooting off into space, but also at the same time, she's obviously still dealing with what has happened emotionally. And
yeah, look at
so I did both of these pages.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
You can keep talking.
no, you're good.
I'm like
You're good.
thinking out loud. I'm telling everybody, look
Yeah. Right. Right. So these two pages I did the very last week I was working on this book. I had set a deadline specifically so that Eli and I could have copies of this book ready in time for a con here in Austin that was happening like mid-April. So my last week working on everything was the last week or second to last week of March. So I was mostly done with like the physical elements of the pages. There's a lot of lettering and like digital touch-ups and stuff like that was left. But I knew I got to get these two pages in. It won't get the feeling right without them. So I made sure that it would be two pages that I could knock out real quick. Like I did both of these in one day together. So that's one reason why this is a splash page. Like I had the photo of Fenry that I could pop in, and then I did like the blue of the world is spray paint. The greens are gouache. The ring is I believe mix of oil pastels and chalk pencil, all that kind of stuff, and then just having space be such a big part of it. Like I can black out a page and add stars pretty fast, but it thankfully with that the need for me to be able to do these quickly, it also like lent itself well to having the room to breathe that these pages give you.
I also love that we're looking at the two, like your original art and the final together, because yeah, I mean what a decision to make in post. I mean it's like really great to see that right next to each other like this.
Yeah.
Do we even call it post,
Yeah.
or is it just all production? I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see too, one of the casualty of this process was I learned, like, since I did lots of frisket film, like masking for doing spray paint, I learned that frisket film's like glue or its tack does not react well to the ink from a printer. This is torn right at Fenry's foot and on his left arm.
Oh shit.
On the so lesson learned.
Fenry got a little messed up.
Yeah, a little damaged, but in the final product, since I had the photo already in Photoshop, nobody has to know.
Yeah. Well, some people will know.
Yes.
Anybody watching. Thank you to anybody who's watching. And I forgot about this. What a way to end it. Just really nailing it, like hammering it home, man. Very Yeah, one of those people who thinks about death pretty much every day, in one way or another. I'm not. I don't even think I'm particularly morbid. I think it's just a fact of life. I don't like to avoid the harsh realities of life, and
Hmm.
I think it helps me live life fuller to think about it a little bit every day. You know, I'm
Certainly,
conscious
yeah.
of the fact that not everybody wants to talk about it, and it doesn't make everybody feel good, and it's very depressing to a lot of people. But I think the constant reminder that our time is limited and we don't know what else is out there after it, and I think it just for me personally, it just helps me live a fuller life. Um, and
Yeah.
I think this is a beautiful page, and this is a beautiful way to end it. This is really this is just a gorgeous page, man. This one in particular.
Thank you.
Oh, both of them. What a yeah. What like for a book that's like, I'll say it again. It's like, this is a very beautiful intro, right? Very, very. It eases you. Nothing hard about that. And this too. It's like, this is very visually interesting. We come in. This is beautiful. Here, there's a lot of it's like it gets dense, and you got to sit there and sit with it and really pay attention to what's going on. And this is a nice break. And then this is just super fun. But then you're bringing us into this very contemplative moment, and it's very serious. It's very, I don't even want to say bleak. It's just very heavy. It's just the weight of reality creeping in.
Mm-hmm.
And then your way out of this is just, there's a lot of breath on the way out of it, and I love it. I love purely visual storytelling, like you, like a filmmaker. I love things that can be purely visual, without any reading, without just. This is why, I mean, I buy comics just for the art half of the time, and
Yeah.
this comic to me is just a celebration of art. It's just really, the art's really beautiful, and it
Well,
reminds
thank
me
you.
that
Yeah.
so many other things can be happening in comics. It doesn't need to be any one thing.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing for, I mean, everybody to think about, especially us making it, is like, it's the limitations that we often like think are there in comics aren't the actual limitations of
Yeah.
comics. Like, obviously every medium has its limitations, but we often just associate, like, comics are, you pencil it, you ink it, you color it, like these days digitally, that kind of stuff. But there's so many ways to do it, mediums wise. There's so many ways to do it depending on the amount of panels and the angles and everything. There's so many possible ways for us to tell a story within a comic, and given that comics as like we know them today haven't been around for, like, I mean, it's only barely been 100 years that comic books have been a thing. So
Similar to film,
there's,
right?
yeah,
Both kind of
there's
like,
plenty of time to continue to experiment and find what is
it's so
possible.
wild how young they are, and how much has just exploded in such a short period of time, and the
Mhm.
transformation and the progression and all that for both mediums. Just
Yeah.
storytelling in general, and art, music included, all of it. Everything just kind of exploded in the
Mhm.
last 100 years in a way
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's just so wild. Yeah. I feel like we're past 100 years. We're past, like, now it's like maybe 120 years, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's about 100 years.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for comics specifically, I should be more knowledgeable. What is the first comic? What is considered one of the first comics?
The first I'm aware of would be Little Nemo in Slumberland,
That can't be the
which
first, is it really?
it's an early
It's
one.
early.
I know, because I mean
I
that
know he's
was.
like wildly ahead of his time and incredibly
Mhm.
advanced and amazing. But Windsor Mc,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I believe those are like started in the 1910s, if I'm
wow,
remembering correctly.
wow,
That's the earliest, like, full comic book kind of thing. Like, obviously the format that it was read in was different than a now like current comic book like we have, but
yeah,
it was the same kind of overarching sequential, um, serialized story. That's the earliest that I'm aware of in to that degree.
yeah.
There's certainly like were others that were shorter and There's possibly even others that were like similar length or longer than Little Nemo that I'm not sure of, but it's at least within like early 1900s and 1910s, somewhere in there, where um, I know of at least the earliest comics.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that, but yeah,
No,
it's
no.
like uh, I do want to. I feel like I want to be. I don't want to be a total authority, but I want to be a little more
Hmm.
like I want to have like my like the first one live of these that I did with Kevin Delgado. I started
Hmm.
talking about variant covers, and I know I've done my research on variant covers, but I couldn't even tell you the total history of a variant cover. I feel like I want to get to a point where I just know how to like explain a little bit more about the history. But I'm dropping down your sketchbook now. I don't know how much more
Cool.
time you
Yeah.
have or we have together, but I want to go through this as well. Do you have a little bit more time to flip through this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So
Hmm.
again, you explained, maybe you should just explain it so I don't butcher it, but this was before you made the comic. A lot of this is what was
Hmm.
leading up to you making the comic, right?
Yeah, like this, for a long time wanted to experiment with mixed media in the actual comic. So, uh, the way it's laid out in this zine is very haphazard. Like it's not in any like direct order of when I was actually making them.
Right.
But it is that um, experimentation that was necessary to get me to start to figure out like how to do all of these things. And some of these characters are actually some of these guys that you've just shown here may or may not be getting recycled into Zethia in the future. But
On a
yeah, it's
for me, I was when I was making my comic Neon Spring,
mhm,
sometimes I spent like days in a row, very like focused and just working very hard, sketching deliberately to try to design characters for it. And
mhm,
after and this happened multiple times, like multiple weeks, and I would just feel exhausted and like I didn't get what I needed, and it was wild. And then I would just randomly flip through and find something I did randomly in the past, and I'd be like, wait a minute, that's that thing, that's what I'm looking for. So
yeah,
I find that like for me, um, this isn't the greatest pitch to hire me as a character or concept designer, but maybe it is. Maybe I figured something out. For me personally, when I just sketch and have fun and
mhm,
play around, some of that stuff ends up being way more valuable than anything when I'm like deliberately trying to do something.
certainly.
And I mean that's why I know like again it's like we artists love looking at each other's like original art and sketchbooks and all that, but it's just a fact whether you're an artist or not that like the sketchbooks, that's where all the thinking and the thoughts really come out for the first time. And
Hmm.
they're just it's just awesome. It's just fun as hell. And I mean this in particular is just very fun.
Yeah,
Like you're
so
really playing around with things.
fun. A few fun things from this is like that short sleeve like button up that random guy
This guy.
has. Yeah, that is taken from just a random envelope. Like how there's always all these strange textured like patterns
Yeah.
on the inside of envelopes.
That's awesome, man. I never would have guessed that. Sometimes I can tell exactly what you've done, but
Mhm.
that's wild. That's funny.
Yeah, so I have a ton of these. I have this my studio here. There's like we're on my drafting table right now, but I have a separate table that's where I do a lot of like painting, but also a lot of the collage. So I have tons of old magazines and like that textile book and old
What do you think? Is
maps.
that pattern in the envelopes? Those are just so that people, when they hold it up to a light, it makes it difficult to read what's inside. Is that what the purpose of that is?
It's a good question. I've never really considered it.
I think that's
That's
probably what it is, but I don't know.
that could be it could be it.
That's great though. I love everything you're explaining. So yeah, you got essentially raw material. Your raw materials are textures and patterns and things like
Hmm.
that lying around. You know the stop motion artist Pez. Have you heard of him?
Um, Not by name, at least.
I just know that he's got like draws full of stuff because he's always using found objects for his stop motions.
Hmm.
He's just a lot of people who are creators, we just collect things. I'm like all for people downsizing and living minimal and stuff like that. For me, like I never want to get rid of my art book library or my comics,
Hmm.
and I need a certain amount of art materials and just random shit around for unexpected experimentation or unexpected projects. I need it. It's just like from speaking from like 2 decades, 2 solid decades of being semi-professional and fully professional as an artist, filmmaker. Like I can't have nothing around. I need things around. I need things for unexpected jobs and moments and
Yeah.
experimentation.
Yeah, exactly. I think of that. I always forget the term. It's like corpse file or something like
Mm-hmm.
what um, comic artists and like illustrators had prior to the internet. It was just like files upon files of reference and
Oh yeah.
things. Like I think about that often, and rather than just having that, it's like I want to be able, since I love to add all sorts of elements in different ways with everything. Um, I want to be able to just have any little thing that I can think of that will be interesting visually. Here's that original sketch here. Like with most of these, are like pretty one-to-one recreation, unlike the
Yeah.
pages from the book. But yeah, I'm trying to find all of those original sketchbooks because I have tons of things like that. Like,
This is great. I always want to be doing more just like landscapes from things I see or mixing things I see with imagination and
hmm.
fantasy. But I think that's one of my major missions this year is to make sure I'm drawing more landscapes, more buildings, more just environments. Because I mean
Yeah.
they contribute heavily to the mood. Like I think you've really captured a mood here. I feel emotion. I feel something looking at this
Hmm.
image right here. Even though there's no people
Yeah.
in it.
That was neighbor's garage. Very briefly, in between living in Brooklyn and moving back to Austin, 'cause I grew up here. Was I was in Phoenix for about a year,
Mm,
and that was like my back neighbor, like the alleyway behind our house. That was like the view that I would see all the time. So I just decided like gonna draw this because it had a cool moodiness always to that little spot.
yeah, yeah. The landscapes. I think a lot of comic artists. One of the reasons why we get into it is because we love the characters in the cartoons, obviously. But Akira remains one of my favorite comics of all time, and it's like the backgrounds of
Hmm.
that are incredible, and it contributes so heavily to the experience. And I brought up Cerebus earlier. It's like Dave Sim,
Yeah.
worked with, I don't know if you say Gerard or Gerard, but he did all the
Hmm.
backgrounds, those like hyper realistic
Right.
backgrounds, with a ton of cross hatching, and that added such an emotional experience, or that just contributes so much to the experience of the whole thing. And
Yeah, I actually, yeah, speaking of Gerard, I have this weird like zine called Fiddler's Green. I got it for free last year at San Antonio Zine
oh
Fest.
man, share it.
The whole thing about like, Wicca, pagan magic, that stuff, but there's a section illustrated by Gerard in
Can
it,
you hold that?
and it's
Can you
just
hold that image a little closer to the top of the frame? Yeah, like that, just so it's easier to see. Yes. So anybody watching who doesn't know who Gerhard is, it's like incredibly detailed scenery, backgrounds, whether it's outside or inside, it doesn't
yeah,
matter, or wherever it is, just lots and lots of detail.
yeah, so much cross hatching,
Yeah.
so fun.
And then with
Yeah.
Cerebus, essentially Dave Sim would draw very cartoony. He would throw very cartoony cartoons on top of it, and that remains one
Yeah.
of my favorite visual effects. Is when there's like a very almost hyper realistic background and a super cartoony cartoon on top of it. I love that.
Yeah, it's something I love, and I definitely would love to try to, emulate in some way at some point. If you know I'm able to really hone in on my background landscape work, but like yeah, like that, and I mean, I think to some degree, Jeff Smith does that some in
Yeah.
Bone. There's like the old Dennis the Menace
Hmm.
comics that did that. It's such a cool trick.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you have this original art down there. Is this something
Hmm.
you want to talk about?
Um, it was one of the first things I found. Like I did not grab all of the sketchbooks that all of these are from, but this was a like one of those early experiments in drawing on top of collage. Like this is from like a National Geographic um, photo. I don't remember what it was
You mean
originally.
the trees?
Looks kind of like yeah, like it looks like in the original it might be like mycelium or something, but I'm not entirely sure. And then most of the body is just white out and then inked on top of that. And then this was just a random square of like gray construction paper. There's a lot of smudging attempts going on in it. Obviously, there's a lot of chips away at the whiteout as well that kind of added an interesting effect.
Yeah, it's very cool. At the start of the chapter, Holden wants to call someone, but he doesn't know who to call, and he feels totally alienated.
There's a funny backstory. I did that illustration for one of my best friends. I was in a band with for a good while, and that image is from a photo I took of him doing exactly that, making that weird face. And then the line of text behind him is from I think our second show. Like there's recording of it where we had been at a used bookstore, and Jacob went into looking for some old like J.G. Salinger
So it is
books and found
Catcher in the Rye.
a yeah, and found didn't find any old copies of Catcher in the Rye, but found some like college kids like scrap note that said exactly this. And so he read that like in between songs, and he's just like, "Ah, it's just a weird happenstance that I found."
We got a little Hellboy, little birthday Hellboy over here smoking a
Hmm.
cigarette. I love
Yeah,
Hellboy,
I think
by
that
the
was
way. Like,
20.
who doesn't
Yeah,
fucking love Hellboy? If you don't,
yeah, he's one of my favorites.
if you don't love Hellboy, we can still be friends, but we're not gonna be able to get along perfectly all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
And then this awesome. I mean, sketchbooks are where it's at, man. I have to remind
yeah.
myself to play around in my sketchbook more, especially now that I'm getting deeper into just like this discipline of making a comic and sticking to like the style
Hmm.
that's developed as a result of making that comic. I really got to get
Yeah.
into the sketchbook and play around more. Like I find my process has just become it's become a process,
Hmm.
and I love, I put out like a big art book called Erotica, and
Right.
it was like me returning to art, and it's like every page is different, and like future volumes of Erotica, they're going to become, each page is going to become more and more the same, and I'm like,
Hmm.
wait a minute, there's really something about like just playing around in the sketchbook. There's no rules, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and it's really it's like it's what keeps you alive and fresh. And are these from life?
Yeah.
Are these figure drawings from life?
Yeah, these are life drawing that I was going to pretty frequently, like just before pandemic hit. It was like right after I moved back here to Austin, um,
Nice.
and it's definitely more like obviously like my style tends way more cartoony, but it's a fun like way to really get back into seriously get like do an illustration. Like this was probably within a year of me having decided I want to try to make comics. I want to like draw like full time, do as much of it as I can.
Yeah.
So I was like early enough still in that process of really getting back to it.
I want to get back to figure drawing myself. I haven't really, I don't think I've been since the pandemic. I remember the last figure drawing I went to actually was like the day of, or the day before lockdown. I showed up,
Hmm.
and one of my bosses actually like runs the figure drawing I used to go to. And I showed up, and he was like full mask, gloves, and I was like, holy shit, what's happening? And that day I like did a video job, and I went in, there was nobody on the train, zero people on the train. You know how crazy Manhattan is. It's like nobody was on the train.
Yeah.
And this was like middle of the week, And I got to this job, and my employer sprayed me with Lysol upon arriving. I was like, "What is happening?" Yeah, and then I went to figure
Holy
drawing,
shit.
and my boss was covered head to toe, and I was like, "Wow, this is wild." And obviously, we know what happened after that.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, man, this is I
Very
love it.
yeah, sounds.
What have I become? I love just how silly sketchbooks are. Like I think a lot
Hmm.
of us, we draw something, and then we have a character saying something ludicrous, and we all respond to that, man. It's sure, like emotions, I think, are the main point of making like one of the main things you have to keep in mind when you're making a comic. But like we're also just trying to have fun and make things
Yeah,
enjoyable.
100%. Yeah, I remember doing a lot of these and just they're just doodles, just messing around. And I think I like had done that hand before the face, and I don't know why I ended up that way, but I was just like, oh yeah, it looks like he's like freaking out. So just being wacky.
I feel like when I'm sketching, I actually have very little in my mind, and I
Hmm.
get overwhelmed because I'm like, oh, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any ideas, and it's just like random things start happening, and it's not really about knowing. It's about just chasing and going after things, and things start forming as you go. And then,
Hmm.
of course, you can always just draw your cat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I have. Here we go.
I will so
That
enjoy
original.
slaughtering all of you. This character looks
That's from
pretty sick.
it's a villain for a comic that I was had started working on with a friend from working in film in Brooklyn, but the comic for a few reasons, predominantly like on my end, just didn't end up happening.
Hmm.
But that was like one of the early sketches, and I still really enjoy that design.
Yeah, it's awesome. Um,
Thank you. Yeah,
maybe these things can always come back some way. Maybe not. Who knows? I see you got some
perhaps.
characters drawn there. This is
Yeah, so that's this little punk band for another comic, like a mini comic I have called Snot Rocket. Let me see. I think I have the copy of that.
TW. I don't know if it's Macy or pronounced differently. It says amazing work, Anton. Very inspiring stuff. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Uh, yeah, I guess I don't have a copy of Snot Rocket anymore, but it's from a fictional teenage punk band like on tour inspired by real true story kind of thing. I think I just sold out of that copy like
Hmm.
last week. Might have to print some more.
She's very cool.
Thank you. I think this like the black eye and the weird things going on, like facial markings and stuff was. I saw somebody with something like this tattooed on them, and I was like, oh, that's unnerving, but like very cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I think they had specifically like put ink in the white of their eye somehow
Oh yeah. It
to like try to
it
make that a
wasn't a
permanent
contact
thing.
lens.
No, they like, which is it's surprising that it didn't go blind in that eye, but yeah, they
That's brutal.
somehow
Yeah.
did that to
I
themselves.
love that look. I would never do it to myself, but I think it looks awesome.
Hmm.
And it's creepy but cool. And
Yeah,
yeah, I've drawn characters
yeah,
with just black eyes, blackness in their eyes. I love doing it. It's such a
totally.
powerful look.
Hmm.
This is just on an artistic level very nice down here. What's going on with
Thank
that?
you. Yeah, that's from a photo I took in the subway at the terminal.
Nice.
Um,
Drawn maps.
yeah, it's from running D&D, all that kind of stuff. Like you end up drawing a lot of maps.
Just lowered my Yeah, this is cool. I think the play you got going on in this sketchbook is it's not just really inspiring. I hope you continue to do it and like use it as a method to inform your final comics or whatever you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely need to, similar to what you were saying, kind of get back into doing it. Like I've just, especially since issue 1 of Zethia, like I've been so slammed with making that, and then doing some cons, and then I was hired for illustrating some like game supplements for tabletop games, and then now I'm in the middle of issue 2 of Zethia, so haven't had a lot of time to just sketch, but certainly hoping sometime soon get back into doing that. Like there's, I mean, my schedule looks pretty busy for a while now, but as as much as I can, like steal little moments here and there. I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to
I
do so.
mean, it's just sketching is where the ideas really come out and they form, whether we're capturing
Hmm.
ideas or forming them, whatever analogy works for
Exactly.
you. Yeah. These guys are cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
similar. Same for thing with that. Like villain we had pointed out before. They were like a early design for something from that same book that didn't happen. Ended up not going in that direction with the final piece, but yeah, that was a early concept of just a bunch of like joined together like different alien things.
They got alien zombie vibes.
Yeah. See if I can find another one of those sketchbooks. I have too many spots where all of this stuff is hidden away. But
I literally just did a major studio reorganization yesterday. I spent the whole day. I just took everything out, threw things away, cleaned up, reorganized. Yeah, things get so bad.
yeah, I need to do that again soon, very desperately. Uh, yeah, there's the original of the cover
Oh,
as
nice.
well. I did find that at least, um, which I've forgotten until now that the body is a bunch of Copic markers. Like the background is paint, which I did remember, but completely forgot it was marker.
That's nice. Yeah, I love this little sketchbook.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said to you before, I've always been a big fan of seeing other creators' sketchbooks. I have plenty of those from various conventions, like even from like the first convention, or at least first San Diego Comic Con that I went to. I've been collecting some of those, so it's inspiring to see how other people do it.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and flipping through your comic with me tonight. And thanks for trading.
Yeah,
That was awesome too. Um,
yeah. Thank you.
I think I said a lot about it, but I also wanted to say it again. It's like the fact that you're mixing media and I don't know if it comes specifically from the fact that you have this filmmaking background or just because we just absorb stories and you're thinking about storytelling. But I really love how you're leading us in. You know,
Mhm.
leading us in very, I would say simply compared to how it gets. And like I said, it starts to get dense. I love how you're showing and telling a lot with some of these pages. You know, it's like this is
Yeah.
really there's just a lot happening as you get into the middle here, and everything from the art to the emotional level to the depth of the whole thing. Um, I think it's just a really beautiful comic, and I definitely look forward to seeing more. And I know for a fact that talking to Morgan and just talking to everybody from Cosmic Line who's on issue 2 or 3 or whatever it is, everybody's saying the same thing. It's like, I think I'm getting better, or I think something else new is happening here, and everybody's really excited about what they're working on. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're just in a really like exciting time and moment, and hopefully we can all capitalize on it in the healthiest way, and just
Hmm.
make some great work and make as much as we can, And I hope that for you, and I hope that you continue to do this. And
Yeah.
uh,
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely, in this for the long haul. As I mentioned, I'm in the middle of issue two, and similar to what you said, uh, I can feel, and I think it's like obvious, or will be obvious for those, when they see it, that there's a different level of like comfort and confidence within the mediums, because I was teaching myself a lot of those mediums with issue one, and I've started to nail some of those down at this point. And I thought issue one was some of my best work, and I still really love it. But it's already, issue two is now some of my best work. Like you can see the level up kind of thing, and I'm super excited. We'll see how many
as it should be.
get to within our limited time,
Yeah,
of every year, all that stuff. But
yeah. I
I'm
sometimes I
going.
get into really dark spirals, especially late at night, where I'm like, 41 now. I'm almost 42, and it's like, how much more time do I really have left? Can I do it? And I've done this my whole life. Even when I was like, probably 16, I was thinking like that. And it's just like, if it really spirals out of control, it's not good. You gotta just chill out and stop. But
Hmm.
sometimes there's been some nights where like I get into that state of mind, and then it triggers me into like an inspired state, and then I start writing, and I'm like moving, and like that's kind of cool when that can happen. But I think the key is to always just grind away at everything a little bit every day, and not get overwhelmed, not think too much. Like you always have to think about the
Hmm.
bigger picture to make a good story, and to be responsible with all your business partners and plans that you're making and everything. But yeah, I think just the thing I love about comics is that we who do it, we tend to be in love with it. I think we all say the same thing. It's like it's my first love, and like there's a few people who get into it later in life, and that's cool too. But I think the majority of us, we loved comics as kids, and now we're like every time we get back to it, it's like such a deep emotional connection, and it just feels so good. It feels so right,
Hmm.
and it's like I remember when I was getting back into comics, feeling like I said earlier, just like really almost emotionally vulnerable and insecure about the whole thing, and and feeling like a real loss for the fact that I wasn't giving up on film, but I was like stepping away from it, and I was like, oh, all these plans I
Hmm.
had, they're going to be on hold or maybe never happen, and it was like even depressing. But comic now I'm like very happy to say that like waking up every day wanting to do comics is so much better than waking up with the dream of trying to make a movie and
Hmm.
mobilize like how many people do you have to do that? It's like it's so
Right.
overwhelming, and even under the best circumstances, it's so stressful and can always fall apart. And like
Hmm.
as long as you got like decent health, you can make your comic, and that's kind of awesome. And you can do it alone, like you do, and like
Yeah.
great,
And like you,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah, like fully. Yeah. I mean, I know all of that exact feeling, with film and comics. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
it's,
didn't realize
uh,
that you had the background in film, so it was kind of cool to be talking to you on that level.
mhm.
We obviously I feel like we have a lot of shared experiences probably that way. So
Yeah, definitely.
are you done? Are you also kind of like not doing film work right now, or you never know you could get
Yeah,
into?
I haven't done film work in years now. When I left Brooklyn, end of, late 2018, I pretty much, as a full-time job, stopped doing it. I did one little thing, here in Austin, a couple years ago now, for a friend's company, and since then just decided, yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. Like there's aspects of it that I'm maybe miss here and there, and there's still the just vague concept of it would be cool to be able to make a full movie,
Yeah,
all that, but I'm perfectly content just making comics, and illustrating other things here and there as well. But uh,
yeah.
I'm definitely feeling like more fulfilled, happier just doing this than I ever have prior in anything.
That's awesome.
So full steam
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, I'm with you on that, and I look forward to seeing issue 2. And
Thank you. Yeah.
if you're down to do this
Ish.
again, I'll just always do this, assuming we both have time.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like comics are now my life mission. I'm back to it, and I'm with you. I'm super
Mhm.
content with it, and I just want to not only make my own stuff, but help other people make their stuff. Promote their stuff,
Yeah.
whatever it is. All of it. It's just it's very gratifying, edifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. I want to see as many people like follow this dream as possible. Like obviously, like there's more people doing it. It's more saturated. Harder might be harder to like find your audience, but like it's what's more important, I think, is just people being able to make that comic that they want to make
Yeah,
and the expression that and the like joy of doing it is like that's everything.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It is everything, and yeah, the joy of comics. I feel like somebody needs to make the joy of
Yeah,
comics, whatever that might be.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, as Kirby said, like they might break your heart, but like they might save you. So
Yeah, I feel like with all the dialogue and all the negativity out there, I feel like there's a lot of people who talk about how it broke their heart, it broke them, and I know there's real stories about people who are really being broken out there, but I feel like most of the people who say that they're not really even in the industry, and it's just like it's obvious that you just have this negative defeating attitude, and you're not even in the industry, so what are you talking about? It defeated you, and yeah, I don't know. I think you talk to comic professionals and they're I think they have a harder attitude because they do the page a day, and they've been
yeah,
doing it for years, and their bodies have the proof of that. I just was listening to Greg
yeah,
Capullo talk last night about something that he's gotten one of his legs, the legs in his veins or something like that. It's like, yeah,
hmm
it takes a toll on people, and it's like most of the people who are saying stuff like that are just the trolls and the negative people, and they're not really contributing anything positive to the culture anyway. So yeah, I think it's like obvious that we do this for the love, like everyone talks a lot about
hmm
AI art and like how discouraging it is. And I don't want to waste my time even thinking about it too much. It's like I was gonna do this no matter whether somebody talked shit about my art or whether somebody came and did what I do better, I'm still gonna do it. So just because AI is doing
hmm
it doesn't mean I'm not gonna do it. And it's like, yeah, money matters. It does. I'm serious about the business side of things too. But even if I'm not making money, I'm gonna do it. It's like,
yeah.
so
I mean, it's back to the comics are punk
they
rock.
are, man. Yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
it's just no matter what, like even if it ends up not being the thing that makes us like a living, and it's just a side thing based on like circumstance, you just got to do it. Just keep grinding away, having fun doing the thing.
Yeah.
So that's that.
On that note, is there anything else you want to say or talk about before we say goodnight?
I don't know. I think we hit a lot of things. If anybody's still here, buy my comic,
Yeah.
buy Ian's
Oh
comic.
yeah, yeah.
Get
Do that. That's a good
get
one. Because I'm
get
gonna
all
be
of our
posting this
books.
on YouTube and it's gonna be on my Instagram and people can watch this later. So yeah, you might as
Oh
well
yeah,
plug yourself, plug your stuff, tell people where they can get your stuff.
yeah. You can find issue 1 of Zethia Space Witch on CosmicLionProductions.com. You order it now. Working on issue 2. It should be out sometime fall, most likely. You can also find I'm in Ghost Agents, the most recent one, Metropolis, also through Cosmic Lion. You can find some of my mini comics and other things through my website, AntonWBlake.com. And
Awesome.
I'm on Instagram, I mean, right now, at mighty_peculiar.
Yeah. Awesome. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll be putting those links in the description. And thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. And Anton, thank you for doing this It really did.
Yeah.
I've been having a rough week, and like I almost wanted to be like, I don't think I could do this today, but I knew that it would pick up my spirits, and it really did, man. Thank you for going through your comic with me the way you did, and it's awesome. It's really inspiring. Good work. Keep going, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I'm glad it could get you out of that spot.
Yeah,
So
man. Thank you.
thank you so much for doing this. It was a blast.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, definitely a blast. And what are we saying? Cartoonist kayfabe, keep making comics, right?
Make more
Make
comics.
more comics. That's right. Word. All right. Have a good night.
You too, bud. See ya.